Banga. I am Parson Michael, and today is February 9th, 2025. So it's great to be here with you. I will begin with the bell, inviting the bell to sound. And I'm in a little different location than usual. As some of you know, my partner, Ollie, she is getting over the flu, so she'll be watching with us, but I don't know if we'll be seeing her at all. She won't be helping to lead the service today. So we usually begin with the mindfulness bell, and this bell is an invitation to presence. We're invited to be right here. Sorry, I'm going to turn this off. We're invited to be right here, right now, in this moment. So I'm going to invite the bell to sound, and I invite myself, I invite you. Everything at Sacred Ground is invitational. I invite you to enjoy the sound of the bell in this moment. As you listen to the bell again, I just invite you to be aware of your spine, from the base of your tailbone all the way up to the tip of your head. Just aware of this spiritual highway within our bodies. I'm going to offer a short guided meditation right now. Maybe I'll ask in the chat if Ollie is watching, if the bell's sounding okay, if my voice is okay here, if all's working well, just to let me know. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes if you wish, and to notice your in-breath and your out-breath. Might want to let those shoulders relax a little bit on that out-breath. In-breath. And out-breath. On that in-breath, you can imagine that spine that just, again, from that tailbone all the way up to the top of your head and beyond, just this road expanding on the in-breath. And then dropping down into this moment, dropping those shoulders down, letting gravity do its thing on the out-breath. In and out. I'm really enjoying the release with that shoulders today. Little space between my shoulders and my ears. In and out. In and out. In present. Out release. In awake. Out relax. In peace. out calm. Well, it could be that you just happened scrolling through the World Wide Web that you came upon us today, but more than likely, you know who we are. We are a church and a Sangha, a spiritual community. We are grounded by the teachings of the Vietnamese Zen Buddhist monk, the late Thich Nhat Hanh, and we draw always from the confluence of Buddhism, Christianity, and earth-centered spirituality, allowing the beauteous elements of those three rivers to come together as one. And that's what we're interested in manifesting and aspiring towards. Today, our theme is mindfulness of thoughts, mindfulness of thinking, and thinking about God and what that might mean. And I really appreciate a Tibetan Buddhist monk. I heard this in the 1990s. He said, it's not that Buddhists don't believe in God. We just can't talk about it. I've shared that probably more than a dozen times on here, but I love that idea. It's not that Buddhists don't believe in God. We just can't talk about it. Now, let's be fair here. A lot of Buddhists will say there is no God, right? Just like with Christianity, there are so many different ways that Buddhism manifests. And when the sutras, what we have from the Buddha is when Buddha was asked about God, Buddha just refused to answer. Some people take that as no God. Others take that as just can't talk about it. Christianity, what's funny is many of us agree we can't talk about it, but we do anyway. And actually, that's part of what we're going to chat about today. And even to see if in that talking and thinking, there could be something potent or valuable that happens with that. So that's a little preview of what we have in store here today. Usually Ollie does this part. I will do the little reminder here. Let me find my glasses and see if I can find where we are right now here. There we are. So if you would like to share at any time during the service, you're welcome to. You can put that into the chat. And usually Ollie and I are working in tandem on this. I may miss something, but if you do chat or you put something in the comments, I will try to attend to that. And Miss Ollie, if you are on there, it looks like you are on there. All's working well. If Ollie, if you see something too, you could try to bring my attention to it. But we'll try to make that go as smoothly as possible. I'm flying solo today, so we ask for a little patience and grace in terms of little glitches you might run into with me. Get started on a reading. Our first reading is going to come from Thich Nhat Hanh, from his book. Oh, I don't know. This is probably ego I'm showing off or something. This is my original copy of The Heart of the Buddha's Teachings, complete with all my little markings on, almost every page. Well, I hopefully I'm not doing that because of ego, just because it's a lovely, fun practice. And I invite you, if you are so moved, to do the same. So I've been working with this book for years. I have a printout of the readings I'm going to share today from The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh. And this comes from pages 56 through 58. Some gleanings there. He speaks of 4 practices related to right thinking. And so, we're all thinking all the time, of course. But is our thinking right? And here he's not talking about right versus wrong. He's talking about right in terms of beneficial. Okay, so we could just say beneficial thinking. So I'll read the first two right now. There are 4 practices related to right thinking. Here are the first 2. And we might want to try to remember these. This might be, helpful this coming week. Number 1, are you sure? If there's a rope in your path and you perceive it as a snake, fear-based thinking will follow. The more erroneous your perception, the more incorrect your thinking will be. Please write the words, "Are you sure?" on a large piece of paper and hang it where you will see it often. Ask yourself this question again and again. Wrong perceptions cause incorrect thinking and unnecessary suffering. It is reported that the Buddha said, wherever there is perception, there is deception. None of us are perceiving the whole. Right now, my eyes are focused forward here. Someone else might be able to see what's going on here behind my back, a place that I can't see. That's because I have a point from which I view, a point of view. This idea, placing this sign, "Are you sure?" Hang it where you will see it often. Ask yourself again and again. This, to me, is just daily life work that is going to be ongoing. Number 2, what am I doing? Again, this is Thich Nhat Hanh. Sometimes I ask one of my students, "What are you doing?" to help him release his thinking about the past or the future and return to the present moment. I ask the question to help him be right here, right now. To respond, he only needs to smile. That alone would demonstrate his true presence. Asking yourself, "What am I doing?" will help you overcome the habit of wanting to complete things quickly. Smile to yourself and say, "Washing this dish is the most important job in my life." When you ask, "What am I doing?" reflect deeply on the question. If your thoughts are carrying you away, you need mindfulness to intervene. Thich Nhat Hanh says oftentimes when we eat our food and you're in a conversation or you're watching TV or you're watching a show, and it's like you're eating the conversation, you're eating the show, you're not eating the food because you're not present to it. So if one were to ask, "What am I doing?" I'm eating a French fry. What am I doing? I'm lifting a spoonful of soup to my mouth. Things would all of a sudden become quite different. You could even ask it right now. What are you doing? Are you thinking about some other things in life? Are you saying to yourself, oh, I agree with what Michael says or with what Thich Nhat Hanh says, or, oh, I'm pushing back on what's being said? Or are you listening? Just listening, just taking it in, not feeling a need to figure out, is it all perfect or not? Just here's some words coming at me. Might have some value, maybe not, but let me take it in. What are we doing in any moment? Now, many of you know that Ollie and I, during COVID, we started practicing yoga more seriously, and we both became certified yoga instructors. I'm so pleased about doing the yoga. We do it almost every day. I'm in my early 60s now. It's simply a good thing at that level, but it's also spiritual practice. And yoga means union. And it's about bringing body, mind, spirit, breath together as one. And I was talking to Ollie about this, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. And I said something like that. Yeah, this idea of, uniting our body, our mind, and our spirit. And Ollie looks at me, she goes, well, your body, mind, and spirit are one. like it's not about, hey, I'm going to force these things to be one thing. No, it's actually, we are a unified whole. We're the ones who break it up, fragmentize, atomize it. We're one. So with that, I'm going to invite you into a little mindful movement, a little yoga movement, and I want to give a shout out to Adrienne Mishler. I've never met Adrienne, but my goodness, she's one of the primo people on YouTube with her yoga instruction. It's mostly free stuff that you could watch if you want to check it out. It's been powerful for me, transformative. So this is one of the practices that I've learned from her. And we'll see if I can do this halfway right here. Let me see here. Okay, I think I'm going to move so this is up a little bit, and I'll move back a little bit and try not to knock anything over. So I'm going to see if I get my breath right here. Breathing in, breathing out. Lower my head, put my hands behind my back. Breathing in, breathing out. And then bring those hands down to your side. You could stand and do this. I'm just going to do it sitting right now. So you might want to have your breath be an audible breath, what we call Ujjayi breath, that you can hear. So from your hands down at your sides, breathing in to raise them, breathing out. Hold your breath, lower your neck, hands behind, breathing in, breathing out. So we're going to do this a few times with the in, out, and think of your breath as almost like the horse leading the cart, that your breath is what's leading the body. Okay, so let's try. In, out. Hold. In, out. In, out. Hold. In, out. Let's attempt non-thinking. Let's attempt to just do the movement, enjoy the movement, Not be caught in, am I doing it right? Am I doing it too quickly, too slowly? Just be. In, out. In, out. Couple more times. In, out. In, out. And we'll do it a couple more times with no words, just our breath. One last time. It, for me, that breath, and I like to think of breath and Holy Spirit together. It's almost like a rinsing of the body. When we can take that breath more deep into ourselves, breathing into our hips, breathing into our knees, it's almost like we're just cleansing the body. I mean, that's, if I have to put words on it, and I don't, but if I wish to put words on it, there's like a cleansing feeling with that for me. So hope that was of some value to you as well. And I am seeing, we're hearing good morning from someone, and we're having Stacy, Mark, and Mom in Pittsburgh saying hi. So great to have you guys here with us. And if others want to say hello as well, if you're out there watching, and of course, if you have any question or comment throughout, please toss that in. It's one of the incredible things. Just started during COVID. We wanted to do, we started in 09, and we've wanted to do it since, gosh, I don't know when, a long time ago. But the unintended beneficial consequences. I'm very interested in that. Ollie and I are very interested in that. COVID, terrible thing. We have friends we know who died. Horrific. At the same time, there were some unintended beneficial consequences. It lit a fire under us to say, hey, how do we do this online? Those of you who are with us, good morning, Honesty. Oh my gosh. Great to have you here. We have a lot of consequences in life, and we could talk about, problems in the world and that. Can we get some beneficial stuff out of it? Can we get some beneficial? So, yeah. I will go back to the readings, and I feel a little funny here because, I love when we have others here doing the readings, when Ollie is leading us in different things, and y'all are stuck with just me here for today, but I thank you for being here. So our first two practices that Thich Nhat Hanh shared were, are you sure? And what am I doing? Wonderful practice. We have two more, and I'll read them. Number 3, hello, habit energy. We tend to stick to our habits, even the ones that cause us to suffer. Our way of acting depends on our way of thinking, and our way of thinking depends on our habit energies. When we recognize this, we only need to say, hello, habit energy, and make good friends with our habitual patterns of thinking and acting. When we can accept these ingrained thoughts and not feel guilty about them, they will lose much of their power over us. Right thinking leads to right action. I will tell you a hello habit energy for myself. Um, you know, hopefully I'm a pretty nice guy, right? But I have a temper. I have my Slovak Irish temper, and I'm a blue collar boy. Blah blah blah. And when that anger comes up for me, I don't do this every time, but when I'm mindful, when anger comes up, and in my life, I've sort of made the decision, or I've come to the insight that it's almost never helpful. And so what I will say is, oh, hello, anger. I see you're here again. And what another teacher says is, be a gracious host to an unruly guest. Hello, anger. I see you're here. You could stay. You could be here as long as you need to be. I don't try to suppress it. Would you like a cup of tea? But like it does exactly what Ty says. It starts to lessen its power over me. So hello habit energy, whether it's an emotion, a thought, hello habit energy. And finally, the fourth practice. And here we have a Sanskrit word, bodhicitta. In Sanskrit, the word bodhi means enlightened essence. The Buddha, bodhi, right? And chitta means heart. So bodhicitta is the heart of the enlightened mind. Bodhicitta is compassion. So Thich Nhat Hanh writes, bodhicitta, our mind of love, is the deep wish to cultivate understanding in ourselves in order to bring happiness to many beings. It is the motivating force for the practice of mindful living. With bodhicitta at the foundation of our thinking, everything we do or say will help others be liberated. With compassion at the foundation of our thinking, everything we do or say will help others be liberated. Right thinking also gives rise to right diligence. This idea of loving kindness and compassion is so key. And got to look for something here online while I'm talking to you. It's very interesting. I'm going to share a couple of readings from Christian tradition here in a few moments. And we don't usually necessarily think, well, what does our thinking have to do with love or compassion? But as Thich Nhat Hanh says, if we have that bodhicitta, if we have that kind of mind of love within ourselves, then everything changes. Everything changes. I'll share a tiny little story here. One of our kids, we have 4 children, ages mid-30s to 18. And one of them, as a teenager, I was really frustrated with for a few days. And then I I decided to write them just a letter of my love for them. Focus on the things about them that were unique and awesome and beautiful. And I wrote this letter, and I didn't give it to them. I don't even know if this kiddo has ever even seen this letter that I wrote. But I noticed the next time I interacted with that teenager, everything was different. It wasn't different because they had changed. It was different because my thinking was now grounded in love. So I tell these stories, and I don't want to put myself up on some pedestal, because so many times I fail to do this. Right? If Ollie's watching, she's nodding her head, because I do. I fail at this all the time. But these are practices. These are things we can do. These are things we can work on, that we can kind of keep trying to do a little bit better, a little bit better. And it's huge. It's life, right? I mean, we all get frustrated. We get frustrated with our family members. We get frustrated with our parents, our kids, our friends, our acquaintances, our neighbors. But if we can bring that ground of compassion up again and again and again, things shift. And then when we shift towards others, they start to shift towards us. It doesn't work every single time, of course, but it's huge. So I'll just read through those 4 again. I mean, are you sure? What am I doing? Hello, habit energy. Bodhicitta. 4 practices of right thinking offered to us by Thich Nhat Hanh. I'll invite the bell to sound. I'm now going to invite us to sing the breathing in, breathing out song from Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition. And apologies, I try to get, if you're on the email list, good time to say this. If you're not on the email list, you could go to theholynail.org contact page, write a little note and just say, please put me on the email list, and you'll get a weekly update on everything that's going on. And that gives you last minute changes. We do programming here in Central Ohio, but obviously we have online stuff as well. So that'll keep you in the loop on everything. And oftentimes with a service, I'll try to send out the song ahead of time or the lyrics so people could sing along. I forgot to do that this week, but a number of you by now would know this song. This is a pretty popular one for us. The song is called Breathing In, Breathing Out by Thich Nhat Hanh and Betsy Rose. I'll take one more sip of water here. And one more bell. If you don't have a mindfulness bell for not a whole lot of money, you can get one, and it's just a great thing to have around. Again, when the habit energy is in a direction you don't want, invite the bell to sound. And even if the habit energy is in the right direction, this will help to nourish that. And if you know the song, you're welcome to join along from home with me. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the dew. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free, I am free, I am free. The beauty of music just so often brings us to a different place. One of the things that I do is, those who know me well know I do a lot of spiritual reading and a lot of different texts. And sometimes on a particular day or over the course of 2 or 3 days, I might find a couple of things that kind of seem to connect to each other, at least in my mind. And I pay attention to those. And I found a couple that connected in my mind this week on the same day. And they also both relate to thinking. In this case, they relate to thinking about God. Now, the first of these readings, the third reading today, because we had two Thich Nhat Hanh readings, is from a book called Zen Catholicism by Dom Elred Graham. Now, this Catholic priest wrote this book in 1963. So that's 62 years ago, folks. People might say, well, what are Michael and Ollie and those folks at Sacred Ground doing? Putting Buddhism and Christianity and Earth Sense Battalion. What kind of nonsense is that? 1963, Zen Catholicism. It's a beautiful book. I'm about halfway through it. And I will read some excerpts from Zen Catholicism. And this comes from pages 79 through 82. Little side note here. There's a website, archive.org. And if you give them an email, you can connect to their library. And they have a lot of old books online that you can read. Zen Catholicism is there, but a lot of different books, not just spiritual or religious books, but all across, literature and everything you can imagine. So anyway, you can find cool stuff there. The bell, and then a little bit from Zen Catholicism. Before I do this reading, we usually have a longer reading from Scripture. We have a reading from the Holy Bible every week from the Judeo-Christian sacred text. This week, it's really short. It comes from the Our Father prayer, the prayer that comes to us through Jesus. And almost all of us know it begins, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Graham, in his book Zen Catholicism, invites us to think about that line, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. from Zen Catholicism. Oh, I need that bell one more time. I just want to up that mindfulness a little bit for myself. Enjoy the bell. The most pregnant expression of man's love for God omits all mention of the ego. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Of which the inescapable corollary is not your own will, but God's will be done. Graham quotes Aldous Huxley from his book, The Perennial Philosophy. Huxley says, "This clause of the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, is repeated daily by millions who have not the slightest intention of letting any will be done except their own." Graham continues, the Buddhist term emptiness, Zen, no mind, the void of St. John of the Cross, the idea of the cloud of unknowing, written by a 14th century Christian mystic, are all various descriptions of the same prerequisite to see things in their suchness, to bring the mind into contact with the ultimate source of all things. One must keep one's thoughts out of the way. To bring the mind into contact with the ultimate source of all things, one must keep one's thoughts out of the way. Graham then quotes from the 14th century text of The Cloud of Unknowing. And here's what this mystic Christian wrote centuries ago. But now you will ask me, how am I to think of God himself, and what is he? And I cannot answer you, except to say, I do not know. For with this question you have brought me into the same darkness, the same cloud of unknowing where I want you to be. For though we, through the grace of God, can know fully about all other matters and think about them, yes, even the very words of God himself, yet of God himself can no human think. Therefore, I will leave on one side everything I can think and choose for my love the thing which I cannot think. Why? Because he may well be loved, but not thought. By love, he can be caught and held, but by thinking, never. 14th century mystic writes, "Of God himself can no human think." We cannot think of God. And then I'll conclude. Our final reading will come from this book, Riding with the Lion. And forgiveness if I mispronounce the name, but the author is Kyriakos Markides. He writes from an Eastern Orthodox perspective, though he draws from many traditions. And he says, Riding with the Lion in Search of Mystical Christianity. Markides says, whatever we say with words about what God is in the final analysis incomplete and probably false. We have a saying in Greek that goes like this: the most profound human wisdom is foolishness in the eyes of God. Markides says, please remember that. Markides then goes on to quote Ethel Deloche. And this woman was a psychic healer who had lectured at Johns Hopkins Medical School, as well as many other places. So a rather respected healer. Deloche writes, there is so much more to creation than meets the eye. Even when we contemplate only the visible, material universe, we cannot really get a feel for its immensity. Realize that your idea of God will always be limited by your consciousness. But that should not stop you from meditating on the nature of God, as in the process, you will attract all the good you will need to live your life in touch with the one infinite source. The more you think about God, the more you will understand about creation, and you will draw around you the energy we call God's love. And you can use this energy to radiate love to all those around you that are in need of the uplifting and healing that God's love and light can accomplish. To know God and understand him completely would involve so much energy that you could not possibly contain it. Neither could the earth, the sun, the solar system, the galaxy. Only all there is could contain God. But that is so far above your consciousness that even the means of comparison are lacking. You will now understand why your idea and understanding of God will always be limited. But at the same time, there is no limit to the extent that you can expand your consciousness and thereby your understanding of God. Your efforts of attunement are very important for all living on this earth and will also affect other dimensions. The time you spend in meditation, in fasting, and in prayer will bring rich dividends. So persist. When I was a boy, I really loved the play Godspell, I'm sorry. And I had the album. And I remember, I think it's one of the last tracks on the album. It goes something like, "Long live God, long 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 live God. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Long live God. The Buddhist teacher said, it's not that God does not exist, we just can't talk about it. The Vietnamese Zen Buddhist teacher says, bodhicitta, a heart of awakening. That must underlie our thinking. And some Christian teachers that we read today agree. How can little old me and little old you understand this God? As Margita says, we probably mostly got it wrong. But as is hinted at in both The Cloud of Unknowing and in this Modern Clairvoyant, if we can open up to this unknowable, this cloud of unknowing, not with the arrogance that we have it all figured out, that we have all the answers for ourselves or everyone else. But if we could open up with immense curiosity and wonder, and with a thy will be done humility, with a are you sure self-questioning that doesn't let ego get too strong. If we can do that, then maybe we could get in touch with this depth of love that can invite us to expand, can invite us to be healers of ourselves and each other. Help us to water beneficial seeds and add to the good. I've sometimes felt kind of weird that I have such an interest in the sacred and spirituality and religion, but I don't talk too much about God, perhaps more today than usual. But I love this message that maybe if we approach it prayerfully, meditatively, and again, getting ego out of the way, maybe we can grow in our love. Maybe I can grow in my love. Maybe I can be more compassionate, less selfish, more kind. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense to you or not. I know in some ways I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to help myself to understand this, but I guess my summary would be that I'm encouraged that it's not just foolish to keep pursuing these understandings that I know I'll never get to. That maybe that's, at least for me, part of what moves me in a better direction. Hmm. Let's take a few minutes for joys and concerns. And if you would like to share a joy or a concern, I invite you to write it in the chat and I will try to read it. And if you happen to be watching, we leave these posted. You might hear the train in the background. If we leave these videos posted up, so you might be watching this later. Maybe you're watching the whole service. Don't hesitate to share your prayer, your joy, your concern, even though we may not be present at the same moment in time, because what we're doing here is trying to step beyond space and time in terms of reverberating out toward the good. So I'll be quiet for a moment and see if anyone would like to share any joys or any concerns today. Hmm. I see we have some good morning and some well wishes from Missouri. So welcome there as well. Well, I'll share. Um, Recently, we had a old friend of ours, our friend Alberta, after a very long illness, she passed away. And we asked the Great Spirit to watch over her, her mom, her husband Mark, and also my mom is 95, lives with us, and pretty much her best friend from childhood and one of her last remaining friends, Claire, also just passed. Blessings, blessings. Stacy says it's a joy to be here as a family, enjoying the service. Thank you. Hmm. Ollie shows a joy that she is healing from the flu. She says she's also glad she could join the service online. Good morning to all who joined us. She's pretty much quarantined up in the bedroom. I've been sleeping downstairs on the couch. So we certainly wish healing to Ollie, healing to our friend Elizabeth, and so many others. This flu has been a really rough one. Stacy sends her prayers and love to Ollie. There's so much in our world right now that's troubling, concerning. Fear and anger and confusion are very high. And again, if we can have practices that help us to calm and be present and be mindful, we ask for that. That can help us to calm and add to the good. Mm. Peace, yes. Mm. I'll invite the bell to sound. And of course, if anyone has anything more to add, feel free to add. I'll make a few announcements and then have our closing prayer for today. For the next 3 Sundays, we'll be meeting for Wild Church at a Metro Park. Next Sunday, we'll be at Sharon Woods. Those will all be in Central Ohio. But in 2 weeks, on Sunday, February 23rd, we'll be online and they'll be both online and in person. So on Sunday, February 23rd, we'll be in online again. A couple other announcements. We're starting another round of our meditative Bible study, Fresh Green Blessings. That will be 4 o'clock on Wednesdays, starting this Wednesday, February 12th at 4. And we're going to be looking at the Gospel of Mark and a different psalm each week. So we'll start with Psalm 123 and chapter 1 of Mark. You don't need to read ahead of time, but you can. And then we'll have that live at 4 o'clock right here on the same YouTube channel. So you're welcome to join us for that. And if you happen to be in the Central Ohio area, living in this area, we have a men's mindfulness group that will be starting at 4 o'clock on Thursdays, starting this Thursday, the 13th. If you're on our email list, you could just contact me and I'll give you the details. We'll be meeting here at the Folk House. If you're not on the email list, but you're in Central Ohio and, well, this sounds interesting, I'd like to at least check it out once or twice. Go to theholynow.org contact page and you could send a contact, say, oh, I'd like more information about the men's mindfulness group. And I'll check that and make sure that I get back to you right away, because as I said, that'll be every Thursday at 4 o'clock for the next 9 weeks. The men's mindfulness group, we're going to be looking at the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path of Buddhism, and of course, integrating some Christian and earth-centered ideas with that as well. Bible study starts this Wednesday, the 12th, Gospel of Mark, and we'll be on Psalm 123. And we'll be back next Sunday in person, Wild Church at Sharon Woods. And we'll be 2 Sundays from now on the 23rd, we'll be Wild Church again, but also online. And for those of you who may want to just have the information there, Ollie posted the 4 practices of right thinking. 1, are you sure? 2, what am I doing? 3, hello habit energy. 4, bodhicitta, the heart of awakening. I will invite the bell to sound and offer a closing prayer. And thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a blessing to be able to, I'm sitting here alone in this room and yet connecting with people. And I'm grateful for this. I am so grateful that you folks who choosing to be a part of this, choosing to engage with this. And I hope it adds to the good in all of our lives. So, the bell. And a closing prayer. Invite you into a space of prayer. O great sacred, teachers from east and west, tell us rightly that we cannot truly think of you. We cannot understand this immensity that we call God. And yet some of us are drawn towards this great sacred that we cannot even truly name. May our movements of heart and mind, whether they be toward some comprehension of the holy, whether they be toward a practice of mindfulness, whether they be toward a walk in nature. May they all help to awaken bodhicitta, compassion within us. There are so many challenges we face personally, in our communities, in our nation, in our world. It's frightening, scary, challenging. Help us to find the groundings. The groundings, whether they be from a Christian mystic from the 14th century or from a Zen Buddhist monk who was alive 3 years ago, or both. Help us to not just be in our thoughts. Help our hearts to open and to feel. And if we feel tears, let us cry. And if we feel on the brink of joy, let us laugh. Help us to be truly alive and to be what at least I am confident we are here to be. These spirit beings in human bodies, these beings of compassion, these beings of curiosity, these beings of growth, here to add to the good everywhere. Within ourselves, in our communities, throughout the greater earthen family, and in the spirit world. Help us, O great sacred that we cannot know, that we cannot understand. Help us release our egos of all that we think we know, and help us to be present, mindful, kind, and adding towards what is just and good and worthy. And watch over us in our pains. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Peace and amen, and amen, and amen. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being who you are. Each of you in your own unique being on this planet. I look forward to being with you again next time. Take care.